felt that I was that hen doing the dance. After all, before I went to make hen hop, I'd selected the music, and the music with its scratchiness and silly little fiddly tune made me think of hens. I always think of hens as stupid, silly creatures. And I went to the experimental farm near Ottawa and asked to spend a day in the house, in their hen houses, drawing hens. And I went in there, and I caused a great disruption between these 200 hens because they didn't accept me. There's great cackling and fluttering and flying from roost to roost, and I couldn't, they moved so fast I couldn't draw any. But after half an hour, they settled down and seemed to accept me as a hen. And so I was left, and I got them in postures and studied their postures and watched their movement, and sort of got imbued with the spirit of henliness, I think. So in a way, when you're animating a creature, if the creature is moving, you are that. You feel the motion.
Your feet on the floor and your back to the wall, and over the left with your corners all. Right hand to your partner, grand chain, go right, go left. Go right to the buggy, left to the wheel, go all the way around on the ball of your heel. Put your wooden leg up and your cork one down. Hurry up, girls, you'll never get round.
Movies like Hen Hop and Rhythmatic were the expression of his idea of film as movements designed through time.
It's a form of dance. That's my way of thinking about film. I know there are other films that are not that, dramatic films, where speech is important, but I never use speech in my films. I couldn't. I'd feel it an intrusion of a very alien kind.
McLaren would send letters to friends. Sometimes fancy, rather than words, would express his feelings.
Where did you get the hen?
Oh, yeah, well, you're going way far back. You'd have to ask my psychiatrist, I think, why I chose a hen. I wanted a simple image, not a human image, because it's too complex to manipulate, so many parts to move. You can draw a hen and a bird in a few simple lines, which make it much easier to do hundreds and hundreds of drawings of. So a hen and bird idea took my fancy, and particularly hens, because I'm always amused by hens. They're such stupid, funny creatures and make such funny sounds and behave in a kind of higgledy-piggledy, a rattly way if they're running or if they're clucking or scratching or so on.
McLaren once said he thought, his mother thought, she was a bird.
Well, at adolescence, the big change came over me. I remember the day and the experience where it first hit me. It was
lovely, brilliant sunny morning, going out into the back garden of the house, and suddenly everything seemed magical. The drops of dew on the grass and the shapes of the flowers. But that morning just overwhelmed me. And I think I went into the doors and tried to write a poem expressing this.
Like, for instance, in my bedroom, I remember the first thing I did once I became adolescently sensitive was in the morning to jump out of bed. The windows I slept was wide open, and looked out the windows to the east and to the west, and then the hills in the distance, and a few clouds forming over them.
How beautiful they are, how beautiful.
The play of light and shade on hills continued to affect me very much.
Sterling Landscape, painted by McLaren, 1947. This footage dates from 1943 and is McLaren's first test for a technique which expresses the influence of the Scottish environment. He would use film to paint with light. And this test led directly to the film Là-haut sur ces montagnes.
Well, now, we all know that when Disney, for instance, and his great staff of animators turn out a film, they do thousands of individual drawings. But that, I gather, is not your technique.
Well, not in this film. Instead, I used just one drawing and made thousands of changes on the one drawing. It's a bit of cardboard with a chalk representation on it.
Yes.
I used black and white chalks. And during the photographing of the film, I would change the drawing. For instance, if the sun was rising on this mountain scene, I would add white chalk to highlight the mountains. The various edges of things. I might lighten a whole area. Then I'd stop drawing and let the cameraman shoot part of the picture in this condition. He'd blend it into the previous condition of the picture. We'd stop the camera and I'd start changing the picture again. I might lighten up the sky.
So it's a series of constant changes to the same basic drawing.
That's right.
You photograph each change.
Yes. And after I'd lightened up the sky and the mountains a little bit more, we'd photograph some more of the picture. Then we'd stop the camera again and I'd add some more details. I might introduce some clouds in the sky. And I'd change every part of the picture a little bit. And then, say I was wanting to introduce a sunset, I might rub the existing chalk away.
Yes.
Then the cameraman would photograph the picture in that stage, mixing it with the previous. And so on it went. Little by little, the picture would change.
McLaren used this technique, metamorphoses of light and shade and imagery, in several films, including this one, La Poulette Grise. Picasso said, "It would be very interesting to record photographically, not the stages of a painting, but its metamorphoses. One would see, perhaps, by what course a mind finds its way to the crystallization of its dream. The picture is not thought out and determined beforehand. Rather, while it is being made, it follows the mobility of thought. A picture lives its life like a living creature."
In my own experience of doing paintings, I've been very conscious of the fact that I
build the thing up gradually and change it here and change it there and keep altering it, and it slowly evolves. That process seemed to me to be more important than the final result. I'm not a good painter at all, and that's one of the symptoms of it, is that, I don't know when to stop. I'm more fascinated by the chopping and changing around than the final thing. This naturally led to trying to channel this into filmmaking, and the film that in my opinion, does that best is Poulet Grise.
Well, this X-ray of my head was taken in 1955. I'd gone into a hospital because I was suffering from headaches, and one of the things they did was to take a number of views of my head. They gave me the plates afterwards, and I was going to fling them out, and then I thought, well, it is a kind of a portrait of me. I thought I'll just fill the head with some doodles. I just improvised anything that came into my head. Of course, there are very few things drawn here, while my head is swirling with thoughts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was working on a film called 1, 2, 3, which I got stuck on. I finally picked it up again, and that became arithmetic. There's a noughts and crosses game. That represents my interest in things that are kind of puzzling. Also, you notice there's the clocks. That indicates my obsession with time in filmmaking. The number of seconds, the number of frames, and 24 frames in every second. There's a little chain of film from my eye that goes up and turns into letters. Well, at that period, I got quite a lot of mail from all over the world wanting to know about my techniques. It disturbed my process of film making and thinking. So that led me finally to write technical notes on every film I made, which could then just be sent out. There's a stairway which turns into film. That meant I was trying to get better and better with every film I made. And, of course, this being 1955, I was keenly aware that the atom bomb might destroy not just my films, but all the films that filmmakers have made. Right at the very top is a little flower with wings, and that represents hope, I think. Coming up from my neck are the feelings of my heart, which don't seem to be very strong. That represents a hope that my films would move people not intellectually, but emotionally more. I was always conscious. I had a tendency, perhaps, to become too abstract, and there was the urge lurking in my subconscious of wanting to put more human emotion in my films. And of course the hen's feet